It looks Karma's. Oh, sorry, we're starting. Hi, welcome to CLX Foundry Live. I was totally not listening to Jojo Siwa. That's also an accurate statement. I wasn't. We are going to be jumping inside an amazing build today for our friend Corey in Rhode Island. But first, let's talk about the thing that you might be able to win. We've teamed up with our friends over at AORUS, including our friends at BEACN, and you're going to get a chance to win something absolutely incredible. Check it out. We built it on the show on Tuesday, where we had a special guest. If you haven't gone back and watched that VOD, go back and watch that VOD. It's a lot of fun. Now, there's great ways to figure out how to get involved in our giveaway, and you can do so by typing exclamation giveaway in the chat. Now, the fun part is there's also going to be extras aside from just your follows and your things. You also might find a code. Now, codes can show up all over the place. You could possibly find them on our social medias, like the YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You could find them at CLX Gaming. You could find them in our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You could even find them on my channel. We'll talk about that later. But the best thing you can do is try and be nice to Ivory, because Ivory controls the codes. I'll tell you what Ivory does not control, however, and that is what Corey in Rhode Island chose to put in this amazing NV5. Paul, what exactly is Corey looking to do here?
So Corey has custom configured a Horus off of our website. So starting out for our processor, we've got our AMD Ryzen 7 5800X. To cool that, we've got a CLX Quench 240 AIO in black. And for our motherboard, we've got an ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming 4 AC, so it has onboard wireless. For memory, we've got 2 sticks of G.Skill 16GB DDR4 3600 speed. It's the Trident Z Neo, so it's got the nice RGB heat spreaders on there. And then for our storage drives, we've got 2 of them. So we have a 2TB Patriot P300 NVMe drive, and then we also have another 2TB Western Digital SN580 M.2 NVMe drive as well. So a ton of storage in this build. For our video card, we've got an RTX 4060 Ti from Zotac, a really good looking card. It's going to look great inside this build. And for our case fans, we've got 8 of our Game DS AORUS M2 fans in white. To power all of this, we've got an EVGA Supernova 750 watt 80 plus gold GT, and we've got a blue cable kit to go with that. So me and Zach were both pretty excited to get that cable kit going in this white case.
Nice. There we go. Well, we're going to get this started now. Our Horus NV5, this obviously is the younger sibling, the smaller version of the NV7s, but it does come with some amazing features, including a fully glass-to-glass tapered front, so that you've got 2 different panels that come right together, so you don't have to deal with a big bar in the way. And we've got an LED lit power supply shroud that really adds to how this comes through. Now, one big thing to remember here, people, is that we love questions. Reasonable questions. Please don't make them awkward. But now I think I just accidentally make them awkward. But if you have a question about something you hear or see today on the show, please ask away, because we love answering questions. That's what we're going to do. I just want to give a shout out over to Trevor Samples. He's like, what up, my PC nerds? What up, my bro? Hello.
What's up, Trevor?
Hashim is over here on the purple side, along with our friends Firecracker. Violent Echo is here. Omek finally gave in. Queso Goblin, an individual that's named after something that I can't eat. Not the goblin, but the cheese. Because queso is... Never mind. We'll go into that later. We got S-Reg over on the green side. Hello, welcome. And of course, Manny down here Manny and MNK down in our TikToks. Welcome, everybody. Now, one of the fun things about building PCs is figuring out how you're going to do it. You got to start with your basics. The basics are going to begin with the ASMR of plastic and the clipping of, well, not anymore, sometimes of padding. So why am I hearing myself? All right, now let's jump back into this and take a look. Now, first of all, the thing that Zach is holding is definitely considered potentially a weapon. It is also known as an IO shield. Zach, Paul, who wants to take it, how to set it up, what to do, and also what to be aware of?
Yes, so with an IO shield, there will be attached IOs and non-attached IOs. Whenever we have a non-attached IO, we want to flip it over to the back side. On our HDMI port here, we do have a little tab that we just want to smush back flat. And that is going to set it up perfectly.
I hate to quote Robin Williams from Birdcage, but men smush. There we go. Sorry. Now, let's take a look right now at our IO shield, because this actually comes with some really great ports on it. So, at the very top, obviously, we have got our PS2. Now, that is not for PlayStation. It is actually a combo port for anybody who's got legacy gear when it comes to mice or keyboards. You've, down below there, got 2 of the total of 6 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports. You've also got not a terabyte, good lord, a gigabyte LAN with an R45. You've got your HDMIs up at the very top, and then of course you've got your triple audio, which, you know, we got a graphics card going and we may not need. Now, you've seen some that have lots of heat shields, but this does not have a whole lot of heat sinks and heat shielding. Paul, how does that work? Is that truly necessary, or
Yeah, so it depends on the board and what you're trying to do with it. So we do have some of our heat shielding right here. Now that's going to be on top of the components that provide power to our processor. We can do some overclocking with this board, but that's where that kind of comes into play. If you're going to do a lot of overclocking and stuff like that, that's where you want those heat spreaders a little bit more.
Gotcha. Now, the one thing that we do have that's definitely going to be considered more, it is what Zach is holding in his hand. This is an AMD Ryzen 7 5800X processor. Paul, what's this processor?
Yeah, this is an 8-core, 16-thread processor. It's got a base speed of 3.8, and it will boost up to 4.7. These 5800Xs are great gaming processors. If you want to get a 5800X, they also offer them in the 3D as well, which has their vertical stacking cache.
Yes. One thing to also consider is that please don't eat your thermal paste, as Ivory was very specific to point out. Now, we do have a question coming in from Blue February 95. You reminded me that on one of the overclocking forums back in the day, someone had the signature never go AS5. Oh, never mind. You ever have that moment when you stop reading things? Hashim says, when considering buying RAM, is cast licensing more important or speed?
It's a good question. So typically I just look at the speed of the memory. That cache latency is important. However, I just go off the speed. The latency is going to pretty much match the speed. There's a little bit of variance across different speeds, but just look at the the speed of the memory. So for this one, 3600. If you're looking at DDR5, you got 5600, 6000, whatnot.
Trigger Thriller Gamer, welcome in. What's up, my dude? Hello. All right, now we've got this going on, and the first thing we're going to pop on top of this board is our cooling method. Now, our cooling method here is going to be a CLX Quench 240 closed liquid cooler. Now, I know everybody is usually hearing me say 360s, 240s, 120s. Paul, what is the difference? And also, what is an AIO?
Yeah, so an AIO stands for all-in-one. So these come out of the box ready to go. I mean, you can see Zach's putting the final screws on it right now. Has coolant already inside of it, so you don't need to add it or refill it or do anything like that. And what that number is, this is a 240. So that refers to the actual size of the radiator. So we can fit two 120 millimeter fans on this, and you can put them on either side, and that would be a push-pull. But we're just going to put them pushing through on this build. Typically, you're just going to have your fans on one side or the other on the radiator.
Gotcha. Now, is there a specific side that you want to focus on putting the tubes for your AIO when it comes from the pump off the processor?
So mainly, it doesn't really matter which side, but you're going to want that logo to be straight, whichever one you go with. You know, you don't want it upside down. That would just be silly.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as we get things in here, of course, we're going to need our RAM. RAM serves a very specific function when it comes to the performance of your PC, and we are going to be getting two different G-Skill 16 gig sticks. Now, this is DDR4 3600. So 3200 gigs of DDR4 3600. Now, we've heard a lot of people talk about future-proofing and updating and upgrading. So how does that work with DDR4 if you need to go to DDR5?
Yeah, so if you wanted to upgrade to DDR5, you would have to get a new motherboard, since the motherboard RAM slots are specific to the version of memory that you have. Now, DDR4 is starting to be a little bit less common, but it's still solid memory. It's going to play anything you want really well. DDR5 is just kind of slowly taking over.
Manny mentioned over here on TikTok, I remember the amount of cores in a couple was important, but it's not anymore. Can you please explain? Manny, that's a great question, and there's two different sides that answer, which I'm going to let Paul explain, but one of them is how Intel manages the cores, and the other one is how AMD manages their cores. Paul, can you explain the difference between the cores versus threads, why they are described that way, and what it means for each of these manufacturers when it comes to how they amplify the performance of those?
Yeah, so the cores on your processor, think of one core being able to do one calculation or one task. So this processor has 8 cores, so you would think they could do 8 calculations or 8 tasks. However, this is an AMD processor that has their multi-threading, so each core can essentially do 2 tasks. So that's how we get 8 cores, 16 threads. Intel does that as well with their hyper-threading on most of their processors now. It's pretty uncommon for an Intel one to not have hyper-threading, not have hyper-threading now, but it was a little bit more common back in the day.
There you go. Now, one thing that we're definitely going to need as we start shoving things onto this board is our operating system drive. Here we go. This is a 2 terabyte Patriot P300 M.2 NVMe. Now, NVMe stands for Never Virtually Me. That's not what it stands for. But you know what it does tell us is that there's something really cool and small about this, Paul.
Yeah, so NVMe is going to be the transfer speed of that, or the transfer protocol of that M.2 drive. So NVMe is very common nowadays. It's extremely fast, so the system's going to boot up in a matter of seconds. And any games that we have loaded on that M.2 drive, we're going to not have load screens.
Fantastic. And you know what that means? In a multiplayer match you're playing online, you're going to be the first one to log in because you've got it on an M.2 as opposed to an external USB 2 connected mechanical hard drive.
Or, if you're
which a
trying
friend
to
of mine had, and when he said, oh yeah, I asked a friend, why is it taking him so long to like get into the match? And he said, well, I mean, I only have a 256 gig drive for my OS. Okay. And he said, well, but everything else is going through my 500 gig expansion drive. And where's that? Oh, it's connected via USB to my PC. Is that USB 2 or USB 3? And he said, USB 2. That way it's easier. No, that's not how it makes it easier. So, just in case people are wondering. What is the square root of 384? Also, what's up, Drax? What's up, Sally Jesse Jr.? And Violent Echo had a great question, by the way. Would you guys recommend buying one part per paycheck to get nicer parts, or would you recommend buying a budget PC?
It all depends on what you're wanting to do with it. So if you've got like a 2K or 4K monitor and you're trying to play at really high frame rates, maybe do that one part a paycheck, get yourself something pretty high end. But if you're running at 1080 and you're just trying to play the main titles at a decent frame rate, a budget build can be great for that.
Oh, Dorian, trust me, on Amazon, whatever was the Prime Day, I got a 1 terabyte M.2 and I sent it to him. I was like, you need to put everything on here. Just don't ask questions. Just do it. Do it. I'll say I also did it on a calculator, possibly. Violent Echo and the Dirty Yankee with the actual answer to the question. And in response, Ivory is given a B-Mic. It's a B-Mic or B-Mic. BMIC-Golf Yellow 78. Golf Yellow 78 or Goyo 78, which is operator in Rainbow Six Siege, which I'll be playing later on today, most likely. I mean, my major is in math education. Violent Echo, can you please go and talk to literally every educator I've had, because they don't get it. I am so much of a hands-on learner, it's terrifying. But you can explain, so here's a question. I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent for like 4.5 seconds. So here's a question, Violent Echo. How is it when it comes to algebraic proofs? Paul and I've already talked about this because he's going to start laughing in about 4 seconds. When it comes to algebraic proofs, how is it that I can get the answer right, even though I did the work completely backwards, and not get credit for the answer? And because I think of things differently, and so oftentimes, in fact, 90% of the time, I wouldn't get an answer right because the answer I got was correct. How I got to the answer was incorrect, even though it was still mathematically plausible. And so, ridiculous. In conclusion, algebra is a lie. A plus B equals shush. It's a letter, not a number. It's a lie. Honestly, it's just accounting for variables. DJ's brain is not wanted. I'm not going to read that, but you're also right. All right, speaking of things that are right, let's talk about what's right in front of us, and that is going to be the angled bottom on the Horus NV5. So one of the things that I love about this is because it gives us a little more distance when it comes to how we cool the system. Now, as you can see, there's plenty of opportunities, and we've got a slightly offset side on there, which is going to be what goes underneath that power supply shroud, which I'm assuming, Paul, is where that power supply unit goes. But let's talk about filtration and where we put this. What are your recommended, I would say, best practices when it comes to not only keeping your system clean, but keeping it well ventilated?
Yeah, so always having your system on a flat, relatively hard surface is a good thing to do. You want to maintain this gap between the bottom of your seat and the bottom of your case. This is how your PC is going to get a lot of air in. We have one intake fan down here, and then our power supply is going to be over here getting air in from the bottom and spitting out the back. So you want to keep this area as unobstructed as possible.
Yes, and the real nobody. That was definitely the first code. By the way, on Thursdays we get the codes that, wait, it comes out of, yes, both sides.
Both sides. Look at that.
You can slide it this way, you can slide it that. Oh, I love it. Here we go. Name versus SATA. Can you wait? Wait, I don't understand what name versus SATA means.
I'm gonna assume.
NVMe versus SATA. Manny is asking over the TikTok side. Manny, good question. Good question. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so that's our transfer protocol. So NVMe is newer than SATA, so it's going to be quite a bit faster. With SATA, there was a few, but we pretty much ended it at SATA 3. That's what these SATA ports on our motherboard are, and pretty much every motherboard that has SATA. They're going to be SATA 3. It's not a bad transfer speed, it's just not as fast as NVMe.
There we go. Jumping over down. I miss gaming, but I really have no clue when it comes to PC gaming. It says Ashley T. Or Ashley T. We'll just call you Ashley. And everybody's different. Some people are consoles, some people are PC, but that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is to educate everybody so that they know what they're looking for when it comes to their PC. So I am glad that you actually despise proofs. I appreciate it. Cosworth up above says, which 4090 would you recommend, the ROG Strix or the MSI Supreme Liquid?
That's a good question. So
good question.
You've got two very high-end 4090s there. So if you've got room in your case, I would probably go with the Supreme Liquid because it's got a 240 AIO that comes built in on it. It's going to run a little bit cooler, probably last a little bit longer, but at the same time, that Strix card is amazing as well. Those are both really high-end options. I'd probably just look at the colors of your build and kind of pick one that matches the aesthetic. That MSI is more of kind of like a brushed aluminum look, whereas that Strix, you can get it in like black and red with it has RGB, and they do offer it in white as well.
There we go. Out of curiosity, do you guys sponsor streamers? I'm gonna be honest, Absolute Power Gaming. If you check out the bottom of our webpage over at clxgaming.com, once again, clxgaming.com, you can definitely find a little link at the very bottom on the right-hand side that's going to give you answers of how to talk with our people appropriately about the topic. Other questions is from Devil Minions. Questions: aren't the fan LED lights supposed to be the same color? I have a lighter pink and green while the others are darker pink and green. How do I fix that? Good question.
What kind of fans are installed?
Yeah, there's a lot more information needed.
What type of fans, what type of hub are they connected to, if there is one required?
Yes. While we're getting an answer to that, for the further information, Uncut Chain asked, which side should I place the radiator fans if my case's front panel is all mesh? Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good question. So you got a few options when mounting your radiator. So if you're going to be mounting it in the front, the biggest thing is I would want the fans pushing air through. So let's say we were mounting it on the front here. This is the front of our chassis. I would have fans and then radiator behind it blowing in. Now, if you've got some really cool looking fans and by having them in the front, you can't see them that well, you want to see them from the inside of the case, you can put them on the opposite side of the radiator and that'll work as well. I would just recommend putting them on the front though.
Yes. Yes, and Violet Echo definitely described answered my question. I just wish that you had been my teacher in college, because that would have been a lot less of a headache and I wouldn't have had to audit the class. So Ashley T asks, when people say liquid cool, do you mean the entire unit is full of liquid?
So no, so liquid cooling, there's a few different options there. That's kind of a blanket term for all the different versions. So this is a liquid cooled PC because we have this AIO right here that has actual liquid coolant inside of it that's cooling our processor. Now there are open loop builds which we offer as well, which have like custom tubes bent. You can get all different colors of fluids. They look really nice. That would also be liquid cooled, but that would be an open loop. And then you have those really sweet fish tank mineral oil builds where the whole case you just fill up with mineral oil, and I would call that liquid cooling as well. But typically when we're talking about liquid cooling, we're referring to either this AIO, which is a closed loop system, or an open loop, which has the custom tubes.
Well, we have someone without a name that asks how much was the case, and the case is included in the cost of the build. I can share that link with you, or someone can share that link with you from chat support, like one of our people. Who's on the TikTok with that information? Jumping back down here. Do Real Nobody asks, do NVMEs work with a SATA M.2 port?
That's a good question. So most NVMe drives should work in that SATA M.2 port. However, it's just going to transfer at the speed of that SATA port. So you won't be taking full advantage of the NVMe doing it that way. That being said, if that's all you got on your motherboard, use it.
Yep. Do your thing. Shasta says, you can blame Paul for helping me add my new SSD to my machine.
Yeah.
All right, so Hashim, you've got Fantex Halos.
Oh, Halos?
To go back to the issue with the two different color stuff.
Is it in a NV7? I bet it is inside an NV7. The NV7s have two different color channels, so they are probably plugged in.
It is in an NV7.
One of them's plugged into channel A and one of them's plugged into channel B. So yes, your buttons on top of the case would allow you to change those up. I was thinking that.
Is anybody else just super impressed that he already knew exactly what kind of case this was? I think that's fun. That's funny. So Hashim asks, ask for Paul. This is a question directly for Paul. Is there a 4090 that you wouldn't recommend? There are many models, aren't there? Is the PNY version any good?
Yeah, so there's really not too many that I wouldn't recommend. Most of the brands are going to be solid, and your difference in gaming between all of those, as far as frame rate goes, is going to be very marginal. A 4090 is obviously a high-end card. It's going to play everything great. Really what I'm looking for is color scheme. That being said, what I would stay away from, if you see any weird brands that you've never heard from before that seem like, you know, hundreds of dollars cheaper than the others, there's probably a reason for that. But no, PNY is a good brand. They're one of the solid ones.
Which goes back to the statement that I made on the floor when we did our show live in Las Vegas, Level Up Expo. Don't buy computer parts from Temu.
Yeah. We were just talking about that the other day. We're gonna do like a Temu build or like a Wish build, just see what we get. Yep. get a mining video card with no video outputs or something.
Oh God!
See what happens.
Right?
I don't know. If you guys want to see that, let us know. Maybe we'll look at it.
It was so good. Warranty wise, though, is there a company that stands out in the GPU market? That's a great question. I would say EVGA, but they don't do it anymore. I'm gonna sad cry. Paul, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna list off the brands that come to mind. I may be missing a couple, so this might not be a complete list, but we've got Asus, MSI, Zotac, PNY. ASRock is making some now. Trying to think if I'm missing any. I don't want to leave them like Gigabyte. All those like main brands, they're gonna have a good solid warranty. They're gonna produce solid cards. So kind of like I said before, if there's just like some weird brand that you've never heard of before, got you. Stay away from those, but most are good.
I was excited because I was like, you can get one of those sweet white arrow cards that we played around with on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Those are real fun.
Yeah, I really liked that card. It was slim, single 8-pin connector, and it looked great.
Yep.
Let's see here. Fans might be fine. I wouldn't spend more than $10 on anything. I don't spend anything on Temu just to begin with. By the way, what's up, Constant Sausage? That was impressive, off the cuff knowledge. Oh hell yeah, appreciate it. You good? 8 of them are like LED lights and are a bit dimmer than the other 4 when I got them into the same brightness. Well, that makes a little more sense. Turtle over here on the red side says, how do I get an email back? I would say definitely reach out to our support team. You can find out more about our support team at the bottom of our webpage. For more information, head on over to clxgaming.com. Absolute Power Gaming over here on the TikTok side. Hi, Megan Smith up on Facebook. Back to TikTok. Alan says, do you guys use your own brand products like fans, or do you use Corsair or another brand?
So we are not married to any specific brand here. That's one of the advantages that we have. So we use all sorts of different brands across the whole industry, and we just kind of decide what we like, what we think works good. So some of the stuff is our brand, but we also offer all sorts of different brands, from Fantex to Corsair to Leon Lee, all over the place. We do everything here.
And then also Absolute Power Gaming over on TikTok asks, what do you guys think about the new wireless motherboards and GPUs? Have you used them?
So I have not used one yet. Very excited about them, but I think like everything, when a new technology comes out, there's going to be a whole lot of issues in figuring out how to use before we get to anything like stable and that can even be close to mainstream. But I like the idea of it.
I mean, honest, like that's some future tech that first couple gens are going to be the trial phase of what did we do right? What do we need to improve? And how does this work? So I would think by the 3rd gen of that technology will probably be good.
Yeah.
If that makes
it usually takes a while, but yeah.
As long as I can plug a 5 series graphics card into the center console of my Tesla when I get one,
there you go.
I'll be happy.
I'll be honest, a friend of mine is looking at actually getting a PC from CLX because what he wants to do is use it as his streaming PC.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Not streaming as in streaming, I'm going to work Twitch. No. He went overboard and bought like this 70-inch, 240 hertz TV, right? That is 4K or 8K. I don't think it's like 4 or 8K. It's ridiculous.
48K.
But in order, it's 4 or 8K. But in order to make it do all the things that it needs to do without it just like duplicating frames per FPS, what he wants to do is buy a PC that is in just way too above mark, and he wants to use it to just power his television. I'm like, well, are you gonna game? He's like, no, I play. I have a console upstairs. I'm like, that's not the right reason. You know what? Never mind. Just go to clxgaming.com. Get what you need, Bubba. Get what you need. But yeah, apparently he thinks that 4090 is going to give him a ton of extra XP or something. BlueFab says it's the perfect use case for an ARC A380. Wow. Oh, Absolute Power says, I don't know what you guys are building this PC for, but I'll take it. Actually, we're building this for our friend Corey in Rhode Island. We actually do a lot of customer builds. We also do our giveaway builds right here. We do lots of different types of builds. All right, sounds good, Necro. Heading back to work. Violent Echo says, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a CLX PC as my stream PC and then use my current one for gaming.
There you go.
Everybody got that thing that they like.
See you, Necro.
My hands are aching watching the fan cable management, says Constant Sausage. First of all, Constant Sausage, love your name. Second of all, right? I am horrible at cable management. But then again, our dear friend Hayden, he has some, I would say, trauma issues when it comes to poor cable management. And we've seen it in person where he just looks at something and you can just see the anger versus strain on his face. Like, he put a picture in the Discord last night that was absolutely wild. And that was exactly what I thought of when you were like, my hands are aching. I'm like, his whole head was aching. Let's be fair. All right, so speaking of all things cable management, hey, Zach, question for you.
Go for it.
Now, I've noticed that on our NV5s, kind of like our NV7s and anything else that comes from the Fantechies, what's with all the Velcro straps, Guy, and how are those helpful when it comes to proper cable management and doing things clean?
Yes, I really enjoyed the plastic ribs and the Velcro straps a lot. The ribs really allow you to line up where your cables go into the inside of the build. That really helps it to where it's not just all of your cables going through one rubber grommet, but they're actually kind of laid out and look good on the inside. Don't look all clumped up.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Now, I do hear some packaging going on in the background, so we're going to switch over to Paul to you and say, Paul, buddy, what you playing with?
I love these cables. So I've got the power supply cables here. For our power supply, we've got this EVGA 750 watt 80 plus gold GT fully modular. So one of the things we really like about this fully modular power supply is that you can get custom sleeved cables. So we're going to get this shot in focus
Can I just
real quick.
ask
There we
one
go.
quick
Look at
question?
that.
Are we sure it's not pronounced Evega?
I'm sure. I think
Some
people that say
I saw
Evga.
it. Yeah, ever since I saw it, I'm like, is it EVGA?
I think those people should go to jail.
Vega.
I'm gonna say EVGA
It's
forever.
it stands for Extra VIP General Admission.
True.
Shouts is like, no video. That's great. I did see a comment up here that I wanted to talk to. So The Real Nobody definitely apparently had a negative experience with Aces. I personally stand with everything I've ever had from Masseuse is fantastic, especially the ROG Strix. Incredible product line, exceedingly well. I would just say just exceedingly solid. The thing is just works constantly. It is a workhorse, but you know everybody's got their things. It is sad that EVGA stopped making graphics cards because their graphics cards were known for being amazing. In fact, my the 1070 that I'm using in my streaming PC, and yes, you don't need a lot to stream. My 1070 is an EVGA.
Put the combs on that one if you want.
Survivor's got an EVGA 3080. Aw, yeah. I have a ROG Strix 3090 OC in here that the boys made, which I love. And it's a lot of fun. I dig it. And everything works on it.
What's 8 plus 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
8 and 4.
All right. 8 plus, what did you just say? I thought we had an agreement about math.
Yes.
But I do know the answer to that is 12.
So,
but how does that work into what you're talking about?
So we are looking at our CPU cables right now. Some motherboards have a single 8-pin, some have 2 single 8-pins, and then some motherboards have an 8 plus 4, which is what we've got here. So we'll be splitting one of our CPU cables in half to get a single 4, and then using another one for the 8.
Nice. Wow. Now, these are custom cable mods?
Fire.
Yes.
Yes, these are custom cable mods. This is the light blue color. We really wanted to put this one on the show because I haven't seen a white NV5 with blue cables yet. I think it's going to look really good.
Well, I have a question for you. What reason would you have to use custom cable mods like I do or this is doing, and what makes it stand out?
So custom cables are really just an aesthetic thing, but they really make your system pop. They've got all sorts of different colors, any color you want. You can sometimes get them with black as well, so you can do like a black and blue where each different cable was black then blue. I really like these solid colors. Once we get this in, you guys will really be able to see the 24 pin and our video card cable. It's going to look great inside this case.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. The combing is something that I will say is definitely creates a very clean, distinct, almost surgically consistent appearance.
Mm-hmm. And on these,
I know because I got white mod cable mods, and all of my wires are just they're all even, they're congruent, they sit on top of each other, they're beautiful.
And on some of these newer cables, these cable combs will come pre-installed on like your 24 pin. So we didn't have to put these on. If you ever installed cable combs before, it's kind of a tedious process. But these just come pre-installed, and then you can slide them around pretty easily. So you can get them where you want for the bends and everything. And I'm going to go ahead and get our video card out while we're doing this so we can get the cables for that.
Speaking of bends, Ivory was talking about carbon cables. Oh, no, wait. He was just giving out carbon codes. CRBN-61 to Lima. 612 lemurs. 612 lights. We'll say that. CRBN. Think of carbon minus the vowels. CRBN-612L. You would thank Ivory for that amazing code there. Constant Sausage. Those blue cables are... Yes. Honestly, I love them. I went with an all white build on the inside, and cable mod things are super fun. Plus, you get to enjoy, having cable mod cables off of your power supply. Now, Paul, the one thing we didn't cover for those people who may be new, and I know we've got several new faces in here. Can you explain what different kinds of power supplies there are? Because not all power supplies are non-modular.
Right, so you've got 3 different types of power supplies as far as that goes. You have fully modular, which is what we're using here, where none of the cables are pre-soldered in. We separate out the cables and plug in what we need. Then you have semi-modular, which will have some ports like this, but then your 24-pin, typically an 8-pin for your CPU, and then another 6+2 for a video card is pre-soldered in. And then you have non-modular, where all the cables are pre-soldered in. You plug in the ones you need and just bundle up the rest and tuck them away.
Now, I had non-modular in my old gaming PC, and it was definitely a source of a lot of cabledom. Why would somebody want to make sure that they've got really great cable management, including keeping areas of space open in the back when possible, Paul? How does that affect the performance of your PC?
Yeah, so from a practical standpoint, you could argue about airflow, and you don't want any obstructions to airflow, which is true. You don't want a whole bunch of mess of cables in your main, but it's really not going to have that big of an effect on your performance. Why we really like cable management here. One, it keeps everything nice and neat. If we have to do any troubleshooting, it makes our lives way easier that way. And it obviously just gives you a really good professional look. I mean, you can see how Zach's got these cables done. I mean, that looks excellent.
Raise your hand in the chat if you can, if you could just do that on the fly. I'm gonna be honest, that ain't me. Definitely not a me thing. I'll tell you what is also not a me thing is what Paul is holding in his hands, because that is a technological wonder. And let's take a look at it. This is the new 4060 Ti, which is super cool. Check it out. It's a 2-fan model. I love their backplates. Their backplates are great. They always make them beautiful. So you look in your PC, you're like, oh, I like it. Now, we've got a shorter model. So, Paul, let's start with the weight. How does this feel? Zotac's really good about keeping their weights fairly light. So, how do they do?
Yes, this is a relatively light card. You can see it's a shorter one, 2-fan model. So we won't be needing an anti-sag bracket for this, even if we had one. This card isn't long enough to where it would even line up. Like you mentioned, the backplate. I do like the backplate on this Zotac card. The shape, overall shape looks good. We've got a single 8-pin power connector there, which we've got our nice blue cable that you'll see when it goes in. And then for our outputs, we have 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI.
Awesome. By the way, we have a great question coming in from Daniel Harvey over on the Facebook side. What's up, Danny? Mr. Harvey says, I'm really surprised that you placed the fan hub on the back of the CPU plate. Is that normal?
Yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
We've actually been getting a lot of this question a lot lately. So, Zach, take it away.
Yes, so I like having it here because specifically with this case, excuse me, Paul, we have a little door right here, and this door can hold hard drives and SSDs. I can slide it on. And the reason why I like mounting my fan hub there is because when this door is closed, if we have hard drives here, it makes this area, this nice big flat area, harder for us to stash stuff in. So because our motherboard is kind of inset a little bit, I can mount it directly to my back plate with some double-sided sticky tape. And the perk about our hub being in a plastic housing is there won't be any possible connections from the back of the PCB of our motherboard and our PCB of our fan hub making connection. So no need to worry about anything getting fried because we are housed. Essentially, the plastic housing acts as a standoff.
There we go. Ah, yes. Hopefully that answers your question. The blue wires are clean? Yeah, they are. And that's what, first of all, you can really see the tie-up well with this. When you take a look at the front, you'll see how the combing really just keeps everything in a very even order, which I love. Nastiota asked if they are Game DS fans. We've hooked up in there. Yes, they are. I did see a question coming in about the radiator somewhere. Wait. Maybe that was something else. All right. Well, there we go. Now we've got this in there. Coming up next, we are going to be looking at what?
Our graphics card.
Sweet Caroline. Ba-dum-bum. Sorry. We used to have, we had so many different alerts on my channel that were all just old songs, including Burt Bacharach and you name it. All right, so we're going to stuff this in there, and it's going to fit right in that top PCIe slot. Now, here's a question, guys. Can you put your graphics card on any PCIe slot, or does it need to always be the top one?
You can put it in any one as long as it's a by 16 and your card's a by 16, but it's always recommended to use that top one. Sometimes on motherboards, that lower slot that you can see there by Zach's hand, it's kind of black, a little bit hard to see. Usually power, it will just be pinned to get power halfway through like a by 8 card. Now a video card would still work, but that's just not optimal. We want it in that top slot getting full power.
Yes, and the answer to the question, they are Game DSA AORUS M2s. My guy Malik, 95, how's it going? Welcome in. Do you ever have to worry about the wires getting too much heat being behind the motherboard?
That's a good question. So no, that's not a worry we have to worry about. So behind that motherboard, there's not a lot of heat behind that socket. Plus, with that plastic shroud that's around it, that it's not going to melt it or anything like that.
There we go. All righty. Now we're getting that all set up and things plugged in and pushed around to different places. I really do love the looks of the light blue. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it's super
brightens
cute.
up the inside.
I know, chat. I'm looking that way, but that's where I'm seeing them. I should be. I don't. Maybe I'll move my monitors around. Who knows? And it supposedly has the best transfer rate and least latency with the top slot. Says, Paul.
Yeah. No, he's right.
And it's also got that reinforced thing, so you don't have to worry about it breaking off stuff. There you go. All right, then we're gonna get these final things plugged in, and then I think we've got everything in, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're pretty much close. We got one more SATA cable to plug in after this to power our fan controller box. Oh, just kidding. Zach's already got it, so this is the last one.
All right. So while Zach is going to finish putting all that together, I want to take you, viewers, on a journey. That journey is to our website where you can find your favorite PC at clxgaming.com. At clxgaming.com, we try and do our best to make it as easy and simple as possible to get the PC of your dreams. We've got cases from our largest, which is raw, our very small ones. We've got ITX, ATX, Elites, which are gigantic when it comes to PCs. Now, the upside is if you're not a professional or you feel like, this is so much information, don't worry, you can't screw it up. We have a thing called the compatibility filter, and what that means is if you end up choosing two parts that maybe don't work together, that little green button up top, that little green button is going to turn yellow and say solve problem. Now, the reason for that is you don't want to mix certain things that may not work together. So the example we're going to use is if you choose a really incredibly powerful DDR5 motherboard, but you choose DDR4 RAM, the system's going to say, all right, you can keep the DDR5 motherboard, but you got to choose one of these RAMs, or if you really want to keep this RAM, you're going to have to choose one of these motherboards. Once you get that matched back up, the solve conflict goes back to green, and guess what? You are on your way to excellence. And that is not the only thing you have control of. You can choose what kind of cooling, whether it's open loop, closed loop. We have the ability for you to get your stuff overclocked. So you can overclock your CPU, GPU, both. You can upgrade your thermal paste. There are so many different cooling options, it's not even funny. And the best part is the accessories area, because that's where you're going to find everything from purple to red to gray hoodies. Everybody's like, I want one of those. Buy a PC, get yourself one. Get you some. Now, that's not the only thing we saw on the accessories page. We've got everything from mice, keyboards, cameras, speakers, headsets. We also have stream gear, including capture cards for those of you who are doing a dual PC system or who are streaming with a console. We've got BEACN, Mix Create some BEACN mics. They're incredible, and they're touchscreen, they're awesome. We even have chairs if you don't have something to sit on, and I didn't for a very long time. But that's the point, is you can get everything here. Now, I know that's a whole lot of information, way too fast, which means that for some people, it's just a lot easier to go with what we call a ready-to-ship or an RTS pre-build. Now, these come in 4 different classifications. You can get these in either entry-level, mid-range, high-performance, or ultra-high performance, because they're going to do different things. If you're not sure how to build it, start by looking at one of these and kind of gauge what you see in there. We've got a little something for everybody, and of course, these are already pre-tested, ready to go in a box, looking for a home, and who knows, that home might just be yours. So for all of your future PC needs, whether it's gaming, streaming, architecture, you name it, head on over to clxgaming.com and see what we can do for you today. Dun, 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 dun. I see glass panels going on. What's the chance of an open loop build on stream, says Firecracker? I'm going to be honest, I'm with Firecracker. We haven't done one in a minute.
Yeah, it's something we have done in the past. If you want to check out our YouTube, there should be on there. It's kind of hard to coordinate because of the amount of time it takes to do, and we have to do like a 6 to 8 hour stream if we were going to show it from absolute start to finish. So we did a little bit of prepping for the one that we did, and we'll get another one on here at some point.
Yes, absolutely. And that comes with the whole, you got to bend the tubes with a heat source, and in that studio might not be the best place for extraordinarily hot open flames. Lots of different things. But excellent idea, and we will soon, I'm pretty sure, possibly, probably, perhaps do another one. As we spin this giant bad boy around, I want Paul to help answer something that I said earlier, because I'm not sure that everybody understands it.
Mm-hmm. I like that, Jason.
I said that our systems go and get tested. What does that imply?
Yeah, so every machine here, whether it's a giveaway system, a show system, a customer build, once we get it built and powered on, it goes to our testing and integration team. And what they do, first thing we do is get into the BIOS of the machine, make sure our RAM speed's set correctly, all of our storage devices are showing up, and then maybe mess around with a couple other settings depending on the configuration. Then after that, we load the system. So your operating system, if you picked any games on our website, that's where we load those. If you didn't pick any games, then we just install an operating system. We do not put any bloatware on these machines. You're not going to get a whole bunch of different antivirus or any other BS software that you don't want on there. Just a fresh install of your operating system. And then once everything's loaded, we'll burn the system in. We have a 12-hour testing process that we do for that. We've got a few different benchmarking softwares that we use. And what that does is allows us to make sure the system's stable. Sometimes a component will turn on when it's built, but once you get into a gaming environment, it can cause it to fail. And so that helps us eliminate that and make sure that you get a stable machine.
First of all, Derek's over on the CLX Gaming Facebook
Derek.
page. What up, Derek? Derek walked in and decided he wanted to just redo his entire PC elements in his house and just went system after system after system. Derek says the online builder is great. Unfortunately, I've reached my PC buying limit. Still like seeing the builds though. Really? Hold on. Let me put my shocked face on. We love you much, Derek. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, Nasty Yoda, those are Game DS fans, and you love that case you like in black? Yes. And to answer your question about the 2-fan AIO, yes, that is a 240 instead of a 360. You could fit a 360 in there, but it's 240 in the processor. Once again, it's at, well, we'll go over that in a second, but I don't feel like the 7s really run hot enough. I mean, 240 should be fine for that.
Yeah, 240 is going to cool it great. Obviously, if the customer wanted to spend a little bit more money and go with a 360, that's a little bit better. But within, maybe that was slightly out of their budget, and the 240 is going to do great anyways.
Perfect. All right, let's get ready. Gentlemen, are we prepared to turn the power on?
I'm excited about this one.
Let's take a look at what we're doing for Corey in Rhode Island. Here we go. Oh, looking good. See, that's the nice thing I love about the internal white cases is because you've got that grand reflection of color. I love the way that RAM lights up. You've also got the front of the card, the graphics card that's also lighting up. Lots of different options. So let's take a look once again what went into our PC that we're getting over to Corey in Rhode Island. This is a Horus NV5 mid-tower in white, and it comes with an AMD Ryzen 7 5800X processor. It's mounted on an ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming motherboard with 32 gigs of DDR4 3600 RAM. Now, the graphics are coming from an RTX 4060 Ti, which is beautiful, and it's got that 2TB Patriot P300 M.2 NVMe system storage. Now, ironically, there is also, which I think I missed earlier, a second hard drive that is a 2TB 3.5-inch Seagate Barracuda. Plus, we're going to be cooling that CPU with a CLX Quench 240 closed loop liquid cooler and a total of 8 Game DS AORUS M2 ARGB fans, and it's all being powered by that 750-watt EVJ Supernova 750 GT 80 plus gold, and of course, we've got that beautiful sleeved cable set in light blue. I dig it. Looks good. Now, here's the fun part about the show. The show is going to happen in 2 parts as usual. So in a few, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, you're going to spend the afternoon with Zach, and Zach is walking you through some new cool builds. You know how much we love new builds. Now, remember, this show happens every Tuesday and Thursday starting at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern. Our shows on Tuesdays usually drop some codes over on the green side. That is kick.com/clxgaming. On Thursdays, you can find those codes over here at twitch.tv/clxgamingtv. That is the purple side. You may also find them on our social media while you're trying to keep up with the latest and greatest of what's going on with CLX Gaming, and that is YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at CLX Gaming. You can also possibly find some things in our Discord with a whole bunch of other like-minded PC enthusiasts and gamers, and that's discord.gg/CLX Gaming. I almost gave my personal Discord. But right now, the other place you can get codes is over on my channel. I'll actually have one today in my show, so definitely stick around. I'm playing a little more Rainbow Six Siege. I've been really digging it lately. Scott got into it, and I was like, all right, let's do our thing. Now, with that being said, we also have a good luck last minute code, and that is Ivory walking in like a boss. And it is HCLX. That is Holy CLX -JKMS. That is Jammer Kilo Microsoft. No, just joking. It's Microsoft. JKM as in Michael, S as in Sierra. There you go. That is your final code. So, on behalf of the entire Mod Team, Squad Team, and along with Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Don't go away. We got more coming up next, right here. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
What?